So I'm somebody who was diagnosed with breast cancer 8 years ago. It was in 2012, September of 2012, when I discovered that I had breast cancer. So going back to 2012, I'm trying to remember the symptoms I had and how I actually discovered this issue. It was really because I did a self-breast exam. I wasn't an individual who was very focused on going to doctors to do regular checkups, but I did. Not very methodically, but I did do self-breast exams periodically, maybe every 3-4 months. And one day in September of 2012, I discovered a lump in my left breast. When I discovered the lump, I actually went to a doctor to get myself examined. This was, I remember it was a National Cancer Health Screening Clinic in Narahenpita, which is a government institution. So in terms of symptoms, it's strange because I didn't really have any symptoms. I didn't feel different, or I didn't feel any sort of unusual sensations in terms of my breast or my body in general. So it was only the lump that actually brought my attention to the issue. There are some crucial factors when you first diagnose yourself, or rather you are diagnosed with cancer. There are some important points that help you to deal with the situation. One thing from my personal point of view, I felt was that you can't fall apart, or rather you should try not to let it affect you emotionally, because I think the first reaction is shock, hurt, fear. These are the emotions you go through. But I think it's important, and I remember following this myself, to take a step back, think about it, reflect on the situation, so that you're more prepared to engage with the people you need to, including doctors, to address the issue. It's important to talk to friends, those who are close to you. It could be family members, to research, to get to know about the disease, to also know how to handle it. I think having support at that point is very important. You have to try and be positive, even though it's a very sad and negative situation. You need to try and be positive, so that you have a clear mind in terms of what you need to do. So when I went to the National Cancer Screening Clinic, I did the necessary tests, and it was confirmed that I did have breast cancer. Once I did that, I had to engage with oncologists who I selected from talking to people and having that support system. And with that, I basically started having close consultations with my oncologist and the surgeon. My treatment was that I had to go through surgery, and which was a mastectomy. I did also have to take all my lymph nodes out in my left arm, because it was discovered that it had spread to my lymph nodes. So this is where you engage with the doctors to try and figure out what your treatment plan is going to be, and how long, and what it will entail, what it actually includes. So I went through chemotherapy for 8 months. I went through radiation for 35 days. This is after surgery. So I also went through reconstructive surgery during the mastectomy, which is where they take a muscle from a different part of your body and they reconstruct the breast. This is an option you have if you wish to take it. So after treatment, your body is slightly weak. You are basically then trying to focus on eating properly, when you can, exercising, and making sure that you try to lead a normal life as much as possible. I think this is very critical in terms of being able to deal with it and having a good mental state of mind. This helped me personally, because I did go to work during treatment whenever I could, and did as much as I possibly could. Of course, making sure that you don't overdo it so that it doesn't affect you. Being with friends, leading a normal life, having a social life is very important. This makes it, distracts you from the disease. It also helps you to make you feel like you're still a regular person who has hope and who wants to live a normal life. So living with breast cancer is interesting because you have to decide whether you want to be positive and get on with life, having hope, having long-term goals and trying to achieve those goals. While working at them, you have to decide whether you want to lead a normal life, exercise, eat well. So follow-up is very important. Follow-up with doctors and support groups and friends is very important because this keeps everything in perspective. You're not alone. You're not alone on this journey. It helps you to understand there are many more people who go through this. It's incredible once you start talking to people how many people are diagnosed with breast cancer, have either been successful in beating it or having challenges in terms of addressing it. All this helps you to understand your own situation and helps you to cope with it better. The follow-up is very important. Follow-up with doctors is extremely important because there is a procedure, there is a protocol in terms of what you need to do, and your doctors will advise you. And it's important that you follow what your doctors advise you to do. So follow-up can be that you go to a doctor once a month, initially for a few years, it stretches out to 3 months, and then maybe half a year or annually. And I'm at that stage of seeing my doctor once a year. Keep in close contact with your doctor so that if you have unusual symptoms, if you have unusual feelings going through in your body during recovery, that you need to keep in touch with them. Never break that relationship with your doctor or a group of doctors. Sometimes you do have a group of doctors that you have to engage with. Having a support system is very important. There are many support groups in Colombo, and I live in Colombo, that you can reach out to and talk to in terms of dealing with it, as well as helping other people cope with cancer. And if you have had a specific form of cancer, you can help others who maybe have questions when they're diagnosed, have questions about treatment, how they can cope with it. It's important to exercise. It's important to be conscious about your diet. It's important to be positive. It's important to have a good social life. It's important to smile and laugh. And it's important to know your role about being able to help others. I would also like to talk about preventative measures that people can take because I think prevention is very important in terms of when you're diagnosed with cancer. One thing that crossed my mind was because I detected the lump early enough. I'm blessed. I'm fortunate to be able to have lived 8 years after diagnosis, and hopefully many more years. I keep myself going with long-term goals that stretch out to 10-20 years. I don't believe in having short-term goals. This also helps me look far into my life, further into my life, and know that I'm going to live long enough to reach these goals. So this is a mechanism that you can have for yourself or follow in terms of being positive. So it's easy to say to be courage because we go through different experiences. I think it's an individual experience, it's a unique experience. Once you're diagnosed, even follow-ups, your treatment plan, it's all unique to each person. So it's an individual experience. So it's not really easy to say to be courageous to every single person who is being diagnosed with breast cancer. It's a different experience. But it does help to be positive, to be bold, to not be ashamed of what you have. I find that lots of people find it very hard to talk about breast cancer. I find that people think it's taboo. They're slightly ashamed. They feel like the space is not conducive for them to be open about breast cancer. Personally, for me, this is something that I think we need to look at carefully because for me, talking about it helps. I think being open about it it helps because it's very common. I remember telling myself a long time ago when I was diagnosed that it was almost like having the common flu, because everyone I spoke to knew somebody who was either diagnosed or had experienced breast cancer in some form or fashion. So it is important to be able to talk about it. Day-to-day life shouldn't be about breast cancer. Day-to-day life should be where you don't even remember that you have breast cancer, which is a case for me. I don't really remember that I was diagnosed and I went through this experience 8 years ago, and I still do go through that experience, but I don't remember. It is not my major focus in life. It is something that I forget about until I really have to deal with it or remember it, because it. So for women, when it comes to breast cancer, it is a physical aspect that we tend to be a bit concerned about. When you go through a hysterectomy, there are emotional changes that women go through, because it is your physical appearance that changes, and it has an impact on you emotionally. It does. I remember the first thing that crossed my mind was that I won't be able to wear a swimsuit and swim freely. I was worried about that. That was a concern for me, because I enjoyed swimming. But I would like to tell women that there's nothing to be ashamed about. Your body is you, your unique self. Your experiences in life is what makes you who you are. And embracing breast cancer, no matter what you look like, what you end up with, whether you end up with -1 breast or 2 breasts, and whether you choose to go for reconstructive surgery or not, it is important to be proud of your body, to be bold about it, to embrace the situation, to be not ashamed about what you look like. Easier said than done, but it is a positive approach that you can take to make your life easier, and to be able to go out there and lead a normal life, to engage with people, with men, women and friends. Once they get into a routine of follow-ups and they feel they're getting better, that they're being treated well, their treatment plan is going well, they feel better, they're sort of getting into a more normal routine, they tend to be careless about their follow-ups. They get lazy. They don't really follow doctors' instructions in terms of doing your regular testing, which I still do. After 8 years, I still do my regular testing. I'm very focused about making sure that I see him once a year, my doctor, and I follow instructions very carefully. This is important because breast cancer can reoccur, and ignoring it or being careless about it is not beneficial to the person who is going through this experience. Breast cancer can reoccur anytime in your life, after 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years. So, we tend to get lazy. It's important to remember that making that extra effort, making this a part of your normal routine and normal life, that follow-ups is going to be part and parcel of your life, and to remember that is very important. Once it becomes sort of something that you do regularly and you prioritize that as something that is important, you will automatically go for your follow-ups. I would also like to share something else. I keep regular records of my follow-ups and the test results. So I have made a chart for myself for the last 8 years, so that it contains 2 to 3 pages of summaries of follow-ups and test results. It helps me to keep track of what I've done, how often I've seen my doctors, and for the doctor to really see what the results have been in terms of testing. It's a sort of a snapshot overview of your treatment. Finally, I would like to leave you with my personal thoughts that I experienced in terms of my journey. I think what's helped me most has been being positive, leading a normal life, enjoying life. And I do understand that women go through different stages and experiences in terms of breast cancer. It is easier for some and harder for others, but no matter where you are in this situation, whether it's critical, not critical, or whether it's even early stage, what helps you is to try and be the human being you want to be as normal as possible, to have friends around you, to have ambitions and goals, to start creative projects, to do things that you've always wanted to do but have been postponing. That's helped me a lot, and it has given me a lot of gratification to achieve some of those goals, to look far, to look further down the road, and to laugh, to be positive, to dress well, exercise, good food, laughter. I think these three things are very important.